Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Beyond appearances, there is more to Nick and Sharon's predicament. Kane's security goon and aide had locked Nick and Sharon in a rundown room, leaving them in a terrifying scenario. Even while the situation may appear bad, there is more going on here than meets the eye. To be honest, we were surprised that Nick didn't put up a stronger fight to avoid going to jail. Especially since Sharon had only just escaped from being held captive by Martin Laurent a few months prior and was taken hostage with him. Even though Nick could easily defeat Kane's geeky helper in a fight, what would Kia do since the thugs possessed a gun? Carter arrests Nick and everyone, CBSYR. Remarkably, when Jack and Diane witnessed Nick and Sharon being escorted away at gunpoint, they chose not to step in. Probably smart on their part, but also odd considering that this is a soap opera and strong men like the Abbott often put themselves in perilous situations. Following some resistance, Carter crammed Sharon and Nick into a musty tiny room in the chateau and closed the door from the outside. Nick yelled and pounded on doors in vain before the two of them realized they were really stuck. They attempted to console themselves by promising that Victor would move heaven and earth to free them and that Jack and Diane would warn the others. However, a traumatized Sharon being trapped will surely make things worse and make Nick go all caveman. Why and RS Nick Sharon? There is much more to their predicament than meets the eye, or should we say less, in actuality. Yes, readers of soaps, Chic isn't as miserable as it may appear. Indeed, just a few seconds after being pushed inside the closet-sized slammer, they could have left. Why and RS Sharon Nick? How? You may wonder. The hinges are on the inside of the door, which Nick and Sharon, as well as the set designers, apparently, did not discover. In fact, escape would be fairly easy, as this young and restless viewer noted. Even though it's absurd, we'll have to follow the soap opera and assume that they are actually stuck there until something significant happens, and that time is approaching. What do you believe will transpire between Nick and Sharon? Cast your ballot. Sharon panics in a locked room with Nick as Nikki and Victor confront Kane. Audra says she's looking for Chance to provide an update on Damien's death when she runs into Victor in the train car. He asks her how things are going with Kyle Abbott and stops her from fleeing. Audra is asked to sit with Victor. She claims that she and Kyle convinced Kane to support the notion of a perfume fight, but that he has other ideas now that Damien has been killed. She was meant to woo Kyle Abbott, Victor recalls her. According to her, there are sparks beneath the disagreement. She cautions that although Kyle believes he is currently in control, Victor should have faith in her that everything is proceeding as planned. Victor Y&R. Being stuck there with Kyle presents Audra with a fantastic opportunity, Victor reminds her. Michael enters and informs Victor of an urgent issue. Audra is warned by the must-watcher that she has until tonight to fulfill her end of the agreement, failing which all bets are off. She flees. And Michael informs Victor that something has occurred that is more important than their individual circumstances. Kane has put Nick and Sharon under house arrest, Michael informs Victor. It's blatant and probably against the law. They were escorted off the train and imprisoned somewhere by Carter and an armed security guard. Victor asks if Chance is aware of this because he finds Kane's rudeness incomprehensible. In Michael's opinion, no. This is over, says Victor. The Sonofabich is operating beyond the regulation. That's what worries me, Michael groans as he stalks off. So will I. Victor Michael Y&R. Diane and Jack interrogate Kyle. Kyle encounters his parents in the maze and inquires as to whether they have seen Victor. They haven't, but they just seen Carter, Kane's assistant, and another man who appeared to be security leading Nick and Sharon to the chateau. They seem to be being held against their will, which worries them. Jack gripes about the mysteries that keep coming up here. Kyle questions whether the murder was related to the detention. He is aware that Kane is suspected by some. As usual, Jack complains that they aren't being given the details. When Audra eventually showed his true hand, Kyle tells his parents that the entire business swindle was a ruse to trick him. Now that he dropped the hammer, he must make sure she never gets better. Y&RS Jack Diane Kyle. Jack and Diane are curious about Audra's hand gesture. Kyle claims that the dispute about perfume was a pretext to get him there and get near him. He thinks she arranged for Victor to be seduced and persuaded to break the agreement he had made with Claire's grandfather. Diane asks whether she came on to him, not surprised. Kyle responds, very much. He maintains that he was not duped and bemoans the fact that she manipulated the emotion by bringing up Damien's murder. Diane questions why she would put her relationship with Nate at danger. Jack asks to know the specifics of his contract with Victor, and Kyle responds, because she's vile. Kyle informs them that his love with Claire is his obsession. What does Joshua Morrow say about Michael Graziardi? Jack loses his temper over Kyle's bargain with the devil. They would have attempted to stop him, according to Kyle. He was aware of the danger. Claire was upset, and Victor would not stop. When Diane asks, what was the offer you made him? Kyle responds that he promised Victor $5 million and the removal of Genoa City if he ever betrayed or hurt Claire. Jack and Diane are devastated. Kyle claims that he would never harm Claire because he loves her. He must locate Victor and inform him that Audra was a complete failure. Y&RS Jack Diane Kyle. Jack cautions against confronting Victor at this moment. Kane believes Damien was trapped in the line of fire and that Nick attempted to kill him. When Victor learns that Kane took his son, he will be incensed. Avoid Victor for the time being. Kane faced. In the Maze's dining area, Nikki locates Kane and lashes out at him for holding her son and Sharon captive. Kane explains that his lawyer suggested that he take this action. Amanda is defending her customer. My son is not a threat to you, yells Nikki, but Kane argues that the evidence seems to indicate otherwise. Nikki inquires as to if Chance approved of this. He lacks the power to hold people against their will. Kane maintains that all he wants is to find out what's going on. Nick and Sharon are safe at a location where Nick cannot hurt him, thus nothing will happen to them. Kane Nikki Y&R. Nikki is furious that her son poses no threat to Kane, who reminds out that her son has repeatedly threatened him in public. She contends that, like the others, he is simply frustrated. He contends that Nick's restroom contained the murder weapon. According to Nikki, someone is conspiring against him. Her son wouldn't be foolish enough to discover the murder weapon in his own toilet if he attempted to kill him. She cautions that although he is welcome to visit her, he should be ready to face her if he pursues her children. Nikki Kane. When Chance can demonstrate that someone else is at fault, Kane promises to free Nick and Sharon. Whether Nick was set up or not is a point of contention. Kane might be framing him, Nikki believes. According to Kane, Nick hates him. According to Nikki, that does not imply that he attempted to murder him. She cautions that she is running out of patience. She has a daughter at home who needs her, and he has taken her son away after luring them there and keeping them cut off from the outside world. Whatever became of you? How did you get so vicious and malevolent? You really are your father's son now. Restricted. Nick and Sharon quarrel with Carter in the chateau's basement. Sharon tells him that since she done nothing wrong, she shouldn't be kept there. As they object, Carter locks them in the room and assures them that a delectable dinner is arranged. On Chic, Josh Griffith says. Nick listens at the door and hears no one outside. Sharon has a flashback of being confined to the mental hospital and beating on the door to escape. She starts to become restless. She is asked what's wrong by Nick. Is this bringing to mind the clinic? Sharon affirms that it is strikingly similar. Nick reminds her that Jack and Diane witnessed them being brought away, so people are aware of their presence. Victor will go crazy when he learns that Chance would never approve of this. Nick assures her that their agreement to maintain focus is just temporary. They can't stay there for very long. Kane. Y&RS Nick Sharon. Sharon tries to crack jokes while they look around for something to help them escape. She will cry if she doesn't laugh. It pains Nick to have taken her there. He questions how she manages to remain composed. According to Sharon, it is her responsibility to keep him composed during this journey. She's not really that calm in her heart. This is the last thing she needs, Nick laments. He yells and bangs on the door. According to Sharon, it's better to be incarcerated with a companion. Even Phyllis. Considering how many times Nick has saved her, she has no regrets about sticking up to Carter. Fumes. Lauren. Lauren discovers Michael lost in thought in the train car. What happened with Victor? She asks. According to Michael, the exchange was tense. Lauren makes fun of Victor for mistreating Michael. His decision to resign was the right one. So, Michael thinks. She inquires as to whether Victor felt grateful that he had found him and updated him as a friend. Lauren rages that Michael doesn't understand loyalty when he responds, "No, She is incensed that Victor keeps injuring him in this way. Michael claims that after making it apparent that he didn't need his assistance, he stormed out to handle the matter alone. Lauren, Michael, Y&R. Michael and Lauren talk about how Kane's detention of Nick and Sharon was unlawful. Michael believes that anyone would become suspicious after seeing the proof against Nick. Even if it's planted, snarks Lauren, they question whether he will pursue the Newmans. Why Kane wanted Michael, there is a mystery to them. The attorney assumes that he will seek legal counsel. He believed that someone would try to kill him, which is why he wanted Chance there. He must question whether house imprisonment is a ploy with a different objective. Courtney Hope plays a mystery in the book. Michael informs his wife that Kane's fear for Nick's life may be the true reason for his detention. But it is unlikely. Lily is most likely connected to Damien's murder. Nick's imprisonment serves as a negotiating tool for Kane, who wants Chancellor. Given that Kane already has an empire, Lauren finds it hard to comprehend why he would want Chancellor so much. Michael believes it's because Kane and Jill had a tight relationship. Colin reportedly made amends with his daughter prior to his passing. Colin had the opportunity to uncover secrets about Chancellor from Jill and share them with others before to his passing. Heinleigh's unexpected selection as Vicky's future lover. Why wouldn't anyone else be aware of it? Lauren asks. According to Michael, it might have gone unnoticed. She inquires as to what he believes to be the secret. There must be more to this issue, but Michael is unsure. Why else would Kane be so focused on acquiring this particular business? Michael, Lauren. Nikki is agitated, Lauren says, and if she approaches him before Victor, God forbid. She inquires as to whether Michael believes Victor will reach him. Michael is skeptical, particularly if this is a component of a larger scheme. Lauren inquires as to whether Michael can do anything to secure Nick and Sharon's release. Until a judge or the police step in, Michael's options are limited. As the ruler of his realm, Kane is free to do as he pleases. Victor locates Kane. Kane advises Nikki to keep his father out of the maze. Everything is fair game when you come for my family, Nikki growls, but Kane isn't playing a game. They are playing a life-size board game, she claims. According to Kane, he is not a monster. He didn't intend for all of this to occur, and he is devastated by Damien's passing. I only value what I can get out of other people, Nikki rants. She inquires as to what he would like in return for her son's liberty. How much do you charge? Victor shows up and yells at Kane, telling him that his game is done. He will promptly release Sharon and his son. Kane inquires, or what? You don't want to find out, cautions Victor. Victor, Nikki, Kane, Y&R. Victor approaches Kane and tells him that pursuing his family was a grave mistake. Victor yells, my son did not commit that murder and you damn well know it. As Kane starts to talk, he is pursuing Chancellor by using him and his female friend, Sharon, as leverage. Tell me that isn't true, looking me in the eye. Victor, Kane, Y&R. Kane gripes that they assume the worst about him. His desire to survive is his first objective. You killed a man and you're blaming my son, Victor says. He wouldn't pursue you. You are aware of that. There will be hell to pay if you don't let him go. Carter suddenly shows up and yells, Sir, he speaks softly into Kane's ear. Victor, Kane, Carter. Carter follows Kane as he leaves after saying something came up. Gawping, Nikki asks, what? Victor shares his concept with his wife. As Victor stalks out into the maze, Nikki warns him to use caution and says, wait here. Sharon faces difficulties. Nick tells Sharon that they had been stuck together before when they are still in the locked chamber. They make a joke about how this is their first time being imprisoned in France. She finds it incomprehensible that Kane would believe Nick would wish to murder him. Since they arrived, Nick acknowledges that he hasn't exactly been cool. He attended his bachelor celebration once, but they were never best friends. What is all of this, really? Asks Sharon. Is he playing tricks on their minds? Nick is unaware of Kane's motivations. Sharon questions whether his father's passing and subsequent wealth drove him insane. Sharon. They discuss whether it has to do with business or bringing Lily back, but they are certain that Kane has a grand plan. Sharon questions whether he is using them as leverage. Nick believes that everything is related. He could have sent him home if he thought he posed a threat. This might be a divide and conquer strategy, similar to his acquiring Genoa City real estate while everyone else is there. Even if it requires force, Nick will remove them. Sharon starts to panic as he yells and bangs on the door. She presses against the door and starts to hyperventilate. In an attempt to soothe her, Nick brings up the double-decker bus in London. Sharon informs him that she is stranded once more and that he is also in danger. He gives her a hug and assures her that nothing bad will happen to them. Sharon and Nick are shocking. Kyle's fury? Kyle, still in the maze, lashes out at his parents for Victor's dismissal of Claire's emotions in order to prove a point. He is as incensed about the mistake for that as Victor will be about Nick's imprisonment. Carter abruptly passes by as Diane and Jack are desperately attempting to calm their son and warning of Victor's fury. Victor is behind him. Snarling, Kyle says, "Hey Victor. Have you got a moment to speak? Not for you." Jack responds, "I know Nick and Sharon were taken away." Victor dismisses them and continues to stroll straight by. Jack tells his son to avoid Victor for his own sake, but Kyle wants to pursue him. There is much more seething beneath the surface than viewers may anticipate, even if Nick and Sharon's current relationship initially appears to be the most recent in a long line of similar detours, rediscovered passion, nostalgic sparks, and the occasional fallout from past scars. This subtle recalibration of two profoundly connected souls who, for once, appear to be coming to terms with who they really are apart from one another but continue to orbit one another like gravity won't let go isn't just another predictable chapter in their decades-long story. Longtime viewers can see that something different is developing, a maturity in both characters that suggests they are not just chasing old ghosts but are facing their own growth, failures, and fears. The townspeople of Genoa City may dismiss their lingering tension as comfort or unresolved love. After overcoming illness and becoming a self-assured therapist, Sharon is grounded and not clinging on Nick. Instead, she is assessing what she needs rather than what she is accustomed to. After recent familial betrayals and business disputes, Nick, who has always been the protector, is left feeling insecure and turns to Sharon, possibly as the one person who has consistently recognized him for who he is and confronts him when he forgets, rather than as a backup plan. It's more than just a love triangle when you include the intricacies of Sally, Adam, and the ongoing power struggles in the Newman family. It's an emotional struggle between two individuals as they attempt to determine whether their relationship is fate or history. Reason itself was stifled by the tension that flared in the air of the Newman house. Nikki's heels clicked purposefully on the marble floor as her cold eyes met Kane Ashby's, who stood with clenched fists and practiced composure, concealing a storm behind his clipped speech and phony neutral expression. Victor strode forward, his voice icy and thundering, each syllable bearing the weight of decades of dominance. His eyes narrowed as he remarked, "This is the last time you've undervalued this family. Kane, you forget that I created this empire out of blood, treachery, and iron. You think you're smart, worming your way into our legacy, taking advantage of the chaos." With fury in her eyes, Nikki interrupted Kane as he opened his mouth to respond, "I see right through you. After manipulating Amanda and using Devon, are you now engaging in risky behavior with our daughter-in-law? We're not idiots, and you're not unbeatable." Down the hallway, Sharon's cries were ignored, her voice unpolished as she battered the locked wine cellar door while confined with Nick, whose intimacy in the gloomy light dredged up unresolved emotions and intolerable tension. As Nick attempted to reassure her, she muttered, her chest heaving, "It's happening again." The glass above them shook from the storm outside, reflecting the mayhem within. With every second, Sharon's anxiety increased due to Nick's piercing gaze, the one that always saw too much, as well as the confinement. As their past weighed heavily on all sides, she shivered and whispered, "We shouldn't be here." The raw, uncompromising, and indisputable truth in that cellar, however, threatened to alter everything despite the walls and the lies that were being told upstairs as Victor and Nikki cornered Kane like a lion playing with its prey. Nick and Sharon's ordeal, while on the surface a harrowing and claustrophobic chapter in their long and storied saga, is actually a masterclass in misdirection, emotional reckoning, and slow-burn psychological warfare that belies the simplicity of a locked door and a dimly lit, mildew-infested room. For while Kane's ham-fisted scheme to neutralize his perceived enemies through unlawful detainment appears impulsive, perhaps even desperate, it is in fact part of a layered conspiracy that stretches back to the moment Damien took his final breath, a death that continues to cast long, dangerous shadows over everyone from Victor and Nikki to Audra and Kyle, whose own dance of seduction and betrayal is happening in a parallel narrative laced with manipulation, corporate espionage, and a perfume war that may very well be the cover story for a far darker operation. But returning to our trapped lovers, it becomes increasingly apparent that Sharon, already carrying the scars of Martin Laurent's brutal hostage games, is reliving trauma that Kane either failed to consider or maliciously intended to exploit, and Nick, seemingly caught off guard, subdued too easily for a man of his physical stature and emotional intensity, reveals just enough frustration to convince the watching world that he's powerless, all while clocking the inner hinges and weak screws of their makeshift prison. Because here's the rub: Nick's not fighting back because he knows this isn't just about them. He suspects a trap within the trap, that if he bursts through that door he may walk straight into an ambush.